Body in our final plenary session of this West regional activity. Let me share my screen. I hope you can see my screen. Okay. My name is Vicky Malotidi, and together with my colleague Iro Alambi, we are facilitating this process, and we have the privilege to have with us in our closing session Professor Michael Skoulos, the team leader of WES. The necessary housekeeping notes. As you can see, we have interpretation in English and French in this meeting as well. So you can choose from the bottom bar the language that you prefer. And you are invited to keep your camera on, if you wish, your microphone off, and send your comments and questions using the chat. Today, we are going to use also some polls in the last reflection session of our meeting. So since this is the final and closing session, just to remind you a little bit of the process that you've managed to follow in its whole part, we started with our online survey on your case studies, initiatives, and campaigns, either on raising awareness on sustainable consumption or on unconventional water resources management and related educational activities and projects. We launched the webinars series with the first online plenary in January, and from January, February until April and May, we organized several one-to-one mentoring sessions with you, and also two dedicated workshops try to address the needs and the priorities that was raised since even the survey phase, just to remind you the challenges that you had reported during the assessment phase. So we're going to come back to that during our poll session. Human resources and financial resources were reported as key challenge, followed by gaps in communicating our projects or the difficulty to engage the target audiences. Okay. So during the bilateral mentoring sessions that we held this winter and spring, we've tried to sum up and share with you some highlights that we identified as common in your cases. So we discussed and elaborated a lot on the finding and fundraising tools, available fundraising tools and frameworks on the resources, how to mobilize resources for your campaigns and projects. So we discussed about various tools, either from global organizations such as UNESCO, or regional ones such as the Annalyn Foundation, or European ones that in which you are eligible to apply and submit proposals. We also discussed ideas on how to mobilize the available human local resources for your campaigns and programs, how to energize the partnership with the local private sector, and many other things. Another key topic that we discussed with you during the mentorings was the standards and the quality requirements when we create a learning resource, an educational resource for sustainability, either for water or for sustainable consumption. So We discussed issues about the essential contents, how to be in line with the current context of VSD and principles, how it's going to fit for purpose, its time depending on the case, and so on and so forth. Another key issue raised during our bilateral discussions and mentorings was, of course, the whole institution and the whole school, even the whole society approach. As a participatory and action-oriented approach and methodology to raise awareness for sustainable development and for applying concrete actions on education for sustainable development. We also discussed how important is to build evidence, to follow proper monitoring methodologies, to document our projects and initiatives, and how to properly disseminate the initiatives. We shared good practices and examples and related tools. And of course, one more important issue was advocacy, advocating for education for sustainable development and policy, influencing policies and how we can take part in policy making related to education for sustainable development. So we update you about the key international and regional frameworks, either for ESD for 2030. We talked about Green Education Partnership and, of course, the action plan towards 2030 of the Mediterranean strategy on ESD that Professor Skoulos in next minutes is going to elaborate more on its key aspects. Okay, without further ado, just a few highlights from the two webinars that we organized since a community. Can you hear me now? Okay, sorry, I have some problems, some technical problems with my mic. So since communicating our projects and campaigns, and since public engagement seemed to be one of your priorities during the mentorings, we dedicated two webinars on effective communication and local community engagement. In this slide, you can see the highlights from the first one, how we need to get to know our audience, how to tailor-make the communication messages, the importance of capitalizing on our strong points and assets, how useful it is to use local ambassadors in our activities, communication activities. They need to build relationships, actually, not only with our audience, but also with the media, with trusted journalists, and so on and so forth. We are going to share all these key points and highlights with you later on. And the second workshop was dedicated to an example, a good case of a local project to raise awareness on a sustainable consumption, in which families with different lifestyles were engaged from the design phase until the end. So we discussed the effective elements of designing and applying such a project, an initiative, what worked well, what needed improvement, how we can monitor such an activity, and all the tools that were used from the organizers, but also from the people involved in order to spread the message and communicate the success story. Just to let you know that all material and video from our webinars are being uploaded on the dedicated webpage. So with this one, I'm going to stop sharing my presentation, and without further ado, I will give the floor to Professor Skoulos to share with us some key aspects related to the action plan of the Mediterranean strategy on ESD towards 2030 within the current agendas. Professor Skoulo, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Vicky, and thank you for this introduction. Let me try to share my screen. Okay. So can you see it?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay. What is very important is many things are important, of course, but in this in the context of this tutorial, it is important at the end of the day for you to feel comfortable with what the basics you need to know. And for sure, you have developed many skills yourselves, and you have knowledge of local conditions. But what is very important is also to know the framework within which we work and from where you can actually use the arguments also for vis-a-vis authorities or vis-a-vis the ministries of education or environment or whatever about what we are doing. What we are doing is the implementation of decisions taken by collectively by the countries at the level of global level through UNESCO and also at regional level in the Mediterranean. So this is why I'm going to mention few of the things related to the Mediterranean strategy on education for sustainable development, which is an achievement because there are no other regional strategies apart from the one of UNICE, United Nations Economic Commission for Europe, which is the older sister, let's say, of the Mediterranean strategy, because many countries of the region, the Mediterranean countries, have to coordinate between these bodies, and therefore also the background on ESD has to be similar or identical in some cases. So the discussion items in the coming minutes, half an hour, is on the Mediterranean strategy on education for sustainable development and this new action plan. And from the key areas, because the action plan identifies a number of priority areas, I would like to elaborate a little bit more on ocean literacy, on climate change, on just green transition, what this is and how this is linked with education, and also on a specific, very important for the Mediterranean issue related to climate change, but also to all other issues, which is the water, energy, food ecosystem nexus. I start with the Mediterranean strategy. We celebrate 10 years already of the strategy. It was endorsed first by environment ministers and climate change ministers in 2014. And this was not a coincidence. We started with these ministers who are in general more progressive for environmental action than ministers of education. In many countries, ministries of education at least 10 years ago were a little bit more conservative in getting into education for sustainable development and environmental activism. We have concluded working for 10 years already, for 2005, on this strategy. And we have presented it in Nagoya, and you can see the presentation to the, at that time, Director General Mrs. Bokova and the Princess of Morocco, who are there. And then we had the introduction in 2016 to the ministers of education. So we have both ministries there. And what is very important is what you see, the Mediterranean Committee for Education for Sustainable Development includes the Union for the Mediterranean, 3 UN bodies, UNESCO, UNEP, and UNECE, and also the League of Arab States. And the secretariat is shared between the University of Athens, my chair, UNESCO chair for education management and education for sustainable development in the Mediterranean, and MIO. And this shows the links we have, the close links we have with the development and also the monitoring of the implementation of this. What is important is that in 2022, we had, at the end of the 22, we had the ministerial meeting in Cyprus, where we had the renewed action plan towards 2030. This action plan includes what countries and participants, stakeholders from all these countries have asked as priorities to be included, and also provide framework for cooperation among ourselves. And this action plan has a great value, practical value, because we have summarized and included in this action plan all the developments at the different major international organizations, including the Mediterranean Strategy for Sustainable Development, which is under the Barcelona Convention, the UFM Greener Med Agenda, the UNESCO ESD for 2030. So all these 3 are in the Mediterranean Committee of ESD, plus the recommendations on learning for environmental sustainability of the European Council, EU, and also the UNICE framework for the implementation of the strategy for ESD. So all the major documents that sometimes is difficult for you to read and extract the elements that are really important have been introduced into the action plan. So I very warmly suggest that you read again the strategy and the action plan. You'll get a lot of inspiration, and you know what are the priorities that have been discussed and accepted by the environmental community and the community of educators, formal and non-formal, in the Mediterranean. The implementation is a very important thing. So the interpretation of the framework of implementation of the Mediterranean strategy on ESD is something very important, because you'll realize that all what we are doing also now is implementing at regional and national level the strategy. For example, one of the recommendations is actually to have capacity building, also tutorials and things that may enhance the knowledge and ability of people who actually work on the field, in the field, to improve their capacities for disseminating and implementing the content of the strategy. Let me mention a few things about the thematics. One thing is the ocean literacy. What unites us in the Mediterranean region is the sea. This sea that brings us together, although there are also disputes there about borders and other things. However, this is the bridge between North and South, East and West. And at the same time, we realize that although it covers the vast, let's say, surface of our planet, we know little, relatively very little about ocean. Although our future depends on them, and depends in different ways. In the first, let's say, is the climate, is the key trap of CO2. It is the key producer of oxygen. It is the key provider of food for many communities. And also it is an area which is unfortunately used for centuries as bin for trash. So we have a lot of marine litter, and among them plastics. This has also changed the structure and physiognomy of the sea through the intrusion of invasive species. And we have actually these species going from the Ecuador towards the poles, let's say, both in north and south. These are very few things we need to know, and we need to adapt, and we need at the same time to raise awareness about the importance of this source, because we hope that this is one of our main tools to address future challenges and current challenges related to climate change, to food security, even to water. We know that in some cases desalination is unavoidable, and we need to somehow combine it with renewable energies in order to have adequate water quantity and quality of water. And at the same time, there are new technologies to avoid having the brine into the sea, which creates problems. So these are very important things. We need to introduce in different, perhaps under different lessons and different sectors, the information. We may have also a specific, let's say, set of lessons on ocean literacy, but also vocational training and scientific research capacity, all this, including the relevant technology, which is accelerating very fast, and to some extent is linked also to space science, changes altogether our knowledge, but also our need to teach on ocean, the ocean literacy. And some of the tools you can use from the work of the Secretariat of the Mediterranean Commission of Sustainable Development, Committee of Education for Sustainable Development, are these three, but there are more. There is No Fill Act, which is a very short but very useful tool, educational material available in many languages, 16 languages, including Arabic, which enable teachers and students to make a program for actions and suggests some action, particularly against marine litter. But it is more, I mean, it is useful the way it has been drafted. So it's something that I recommend you to get through. Also, there is a mobile exhibition, Marine Litter, that has been displayed in hundreds of sites and continues to be available. And also there is the plastic waste, which was a small project, but very useful, asking to use the different blue bins or whatever color the recycling of plastic is. In many countries, there are initiatives to recycle plastic. In Greece is blue, and it was started in Crete, but expands, so it is also in English, and perhaps it will be reviewed and also become available in other languages as well. Many activities, this material can be well coordinated with activities you plan. We have a week-long train of trainers courses on ocean literacy here in Athens. And also it is a permanent theme of the hybrid universities, particularly where we use the biosphere reserves of UNESCO MAB program, the Man and the Biosphere, as sites to develop ocean literacy when they are, of course, coastal areas. In this framework, we have organized during the 9th Our Ocean Conference that took place here, a very big event with 3,500 participants and 56 ministers, 15 heads of states and government, so a very big event. And we had a dedicated side event on ocean literacy with many organizations dealing with this issue, having actually a round table on that. And it was very useful for all those who work on this issue. Now, as I said, ocean literacy touches upon climate change, but climate change education has become a very important tool recognized both by UNESCO, but also by the UN Framework Convention for Climate Change, where we have recommendation that within the ESD, we have this specific, let's say, education chapter on climate change. And there are many schools all over the world and all over the Mediterranean that already elaborate projects, programs, smaller, bigger, on climate change. These projects have to bring together at least three elements. One is the awareness about the seriousness of the problem, the seriousness and the urgency to act immediately. So showing the proofs for the climate change, showing the devastating impacts, and trying to avoid further destruction because it is a real issue. We will not manage to have reversible processes in few years. Already we are not able to have that. Already what we call cryosphere, the glaciers, the ice caps that have disappeared, is very difficult to come back. Particularly, there is a risk that in few years we'll not have any glaciers in Arctica. As you know, Arctica is the fastest warming area in the world, and second to that comes the Mediterranean. So the one is this. The second is to show what we have. We have technologies at the moment that can help us. We have technologies replacing, and here is the most important thing on energy, mitigation, coming and saying what we need in order to reduce the footprint, the energy footprint, the carbon, and reduce emissions like carbon dioxide, methane, and other gases, not necessarily carbon, but for example, hypoxide of can't find the word of azoton at the moment, which so
nitrogen,
of course. So many of these gases can be avoided with changing agricultural practices, reducing combustion, and so on and so forth. So the second big thing is to be aware of the solutions existing there for mitigation and adaptation, because in any case, we will have more heat waves, we have more scarcity of water, more floods. We need to understand how we can address these challenges at community or individual level. And then when we come to that is what we can do as citizens, as consumers, to help towards this direction. So these are all important issues on climate change education and the action towards 2030, as I mentioned already. And this covers many aspects of everyday life, in the way we are using energy, in the way we are changing our diet with less meat, for example, reducing even one less meal per week is important, with mobility, with all what we are doing, our consumption choices and our lifestyles. The other important thing is that we prepare as Secretariat, together with several institutions of academia, schools, NGOs from 4 countries, Cyprus, Greece, France, Italy, through Erasmus Plus project. We have this Parce educational project for comparing physical and augmented reality for climate change. So we'll get into the tools, the educational tools we are using, and we try to see how best we can enhance the impact, the positive impact of learning material and teaching material. And we hope that this material and the mix of traditional and augmented reality, together with a tool for teacher training, but also good cases of school interventions. All these are going to be elaborated in a scientifically sound way and disseminated to all of you and many, many organizations around the Mediterranean to help in addressing this huge issue, the climate change issue. And in parallel, already in 21-22, we had a survey together with the Ministry of Education, Sports and Youth of the Pedagogical Institute of Cyprus, focusing in the area of Eastern Mediterranean and the Middle East. To see what are the gaps, what are the needs, where we have to focus, and in many cases trying to help countries to enhance their policies, their educational policies for this issue. Now, some of the issues that we discussed already on ocean and climate are not only technical and are not only legal. They include a big part on values, on values and ethics, things that need to be there because many times under the pressure and the urgency, we try to focus on technical issues, forgetting even our neighbors or the groups that have more need on that, but not the means to act there. So we have in our action plan, and I insist that you have to read it carefully, and you learn from that. You become richer in your, even by reading one text, you understand fully what the education for sustainable development means. So objective 5 is to assist ministries of environment in general, water, energy, health, of the region in mainstreaming the awareness and education campaign and initiatives related all SDGs, viewing the access and also the need to see the issue of human rights within that. For example, when we are discussing about water quantity and quality, this is already a UN right, the access to good, safe water. The same is for food, the same is for education. These are important elements that need to be known by the society, and are things that they have to ask for from the political leaderships. So it is something that is necessary for everybody to know his own rights. Also, the priority thematics include something that is missing in many parts of our earth and unfortunately of the Mediterranean: peace and conflict resolution. This is something that is, it comes as an addition in complementarity with the spirit of coexistence and tolerance of different cultures, different religions, and so on and so forth. And against, actually, although we have tolerance for good things. We cannot tolerate, for example, extreme fundamentalism and terrorism. At the same time, we recognize the need of people to be free. So these are important issues, and we need to understand the red lines and help people to understand really what helps people to have a better life. So we cover also issues of migration, of refugee rights, of displaced population. Many of these populations are displaced because of the conditions, also the environmental conditions. When I say environmental conditions are not only the climate change, a very big issue. Millions of people in Africa are forced to move because of that. But also environmental issue is the lack of water and sanitation and other basic needs you may have in a community. And of course, the women and children and youth are the first victims of all these, violations of rights. So these are important issues also to be part of the agendas of education for sustainable development. And we have to be very careful to present them in an objective way, in a way that does not actually create further anxiety, but securing that there is at least the international support on that. So this is very important to understand and utilize in the best way. Finally, I have to discuss a little bit the issue of nexus, where we are among the most, and in West, the pioneers in developing the concept. What is the importance of this is that we are talking about the water, energy, food, ecosystem relationship, nexus. Why? Because we cannot have water without energy. We cannot have treated wastewater that is used as new water without energy. We cannot have even clean water from biological stations, even to throw it to the sea without creating pollution problems. Don't forget that we are talking about the triple crisis today. What is the triple crisis? Is the climate change, is the loss of biodiversity, suffering ecosystems, and also increased pollution. We had in Europe and in the Mediterranean, we had for many years, an improvement of the quality of waters, but not enough improvement in the quality of air. And now we have, again, serious problems, for example, pollution of plastics, but also of many other micro pollutants. So I don't have the time to get into that. What is important is to see how these four come together and in support of the, let's say, poorer relatives of the four. What is the poorest is, of course, the ecosystems. We take water out of them, we reduce their space, we violate. But we wait everything from nature-based solutions, from ecosystems, to correct the human interventions. So, in fact, this system allows for the rich relative, which is energy, the second rich, which is food, to also pass resources for a better water management and a better management of ecosystems. And it allows to have as basis whatever we work with. And I'm saying that because we all know that we have in our governance, in our government, in our governance at the local level, silos and sectors that refuse to work together. And this is a big cost for the environment, for climate change and the rest. We need to open big channels among these silos, and we need to educate people in integrated management approaches. And this is a very good entry point for all those who wish to contribute to the better management of the environment, because we enhance impact through that and effectiveness and reduce cost at the end of the day. So this is all what I wanted to say. I'm here if you have any questions to me, and I think that Vicky and Iro will continue with the program, with the agenda. Thank you all.
Yes, but before going to the last session, let's see if there are any questions from the participants.
Yes, please.
Thank you, Professor, for reminding us that we're acting within this framework and giving us an overview of all the agreements, strategies, and action plans. I think it's very useful, and I hope Vicky and Iro can provide us with all this information. I'm very interested in, unfortunately, with the ocean literacy, we're not allowed to, to have access to our sea in Gaza. So it's another story. But my question is about the educational tools, because here in Bethlehem, we're trying to educate the community, and we have selected two of our partners is a school and a university. So I'm very interested to know more about the education tools you have developed. I'm sure we will have the access also if we search, but if you have, because you emphasize the dissemination of these tools, so I think that will be useful for all of us to know more about these educational tools. I like also the idea of relating that to human rights, and that we have to put pressure from the community on the political at the political level to see that not as a luxury or not as a priority, but as a need and basic right. So thank you very much. It was for
Thank
me.
you.
Actually,
Thank you for your question. Of course, it is a very big issue, the tools, because there are many tools, as you know. When I'm talking about tools, first of all, we have all the educational assistance. I mean, the starting with textbooks, but now we have many more, videos, games, material that is available, and a lot of this material produced by very top experts from NASA, from UNESCO, from many organizations, including us. Other tools, of course, are the tools that you try to see how you can influence, not just teach, and you can through direct involvement of learners. I mean, the learners centered approaches many times to discover themselves, apart from giving them the knowledge, to discover with you the knowledge and a knowledge that is useful and available to lead to activities and initiatives. So there are many tools. I don't have the time, but there is also a small book that we have published long ago with Vicky Malotivi, which is available, I think, on our webpage in English and French, with different techniques, different approaches of education, environmental education, and education for sustainable development. with let's say, mapping of ideas, mapping of concepts, building on existing knowledge. So there are many, many tools. I'm sure that you are using already many of them. What we are now trying, what I mentioned on tools, is to see how traditional and more modern augmented reality and other tools, if, because it's a question mark, if they have a better impact to students. But this is still at the level of research, if I may say so, for the coming 1.5 years, because we are just at the period of starting this work, and it will end in 3 years, but I think that already in 1.5 years we'll be able to share some of our of these new tools. I don't know if there is any other question.
Just to let you know that we have shared in the chat the educational materials and tools that you've mentioned before, and particularly the handbook on education for sustainable development, that it was also published in Arabic. I had forgotten about it.
Yeah.
But yes, and the particular ones that they were included in your presentations, they have active links. So
Okay.
you will have access in the presentation as well, and you can have access to the tools also.
Take the time to reread the strategy and the action plan. The new action plan is very useful. Salama. We cannot hear you. You are muted, Salama. We cannot hear you.
Hello,
Yes.
hello. Sorry,
Yes.
I didn't have my
It's okay.
earphone. But actually, I just showed the like sign, not a question,
Okay.
just the reaction.
Thank you very much, Salama, and thank you for
Okay,
your commitment and continuous work on ESD. Thanks a lot.
thank you.
Is there any other intervention or question or comment or something? If not, please continue, Iro and Vicky.
Yes, thank you, Professor Skoulos. Actually, we have prepared a set of 3 questions, reflection questions on the process to share with you. So we were wondering now, together with Iro, either we can do it like a poll, share it with you here in the Zoom, or either we can make them open and just discuss on them. What would you say, Professor Skoulos? You are muted.
I believe that it's better to discuss it. Put the question and whoever wants to.
Okay,
Yes.
so I can share them, and we can stop and discuss them a bit. So you must see now on your screen the first one that goes back to the challenges that you had reported in the very first steps of the activity. Can you please click again and let us know which one or ones you still consider them as important for your case?
And it's multiple choice. You can choose more.
Yes.
You can put first, second, third, 1, 2, 3 if you wish to.
Yes, later on in the chat, but right now we will see what it's going to be clicked mostly. I don't see any reactions. Oh, here they come. Any other? Okay. Okay, let's see the results. So we have still some difficulty to engage our target audiences, or the issue of enlarging our impact, scaling up our impact, and how to link, to transcribe the policies to national and local actions.
And the financial and human resources shortages.
Yes, indeed. Okay, let's move on.
Θέλει κάποιος να σχολιάσει. Does anyone want to comment on this? Because we had 2 workshops dedicated especially in the part of communication and doing effective communication. On one hand, general environmental communication, and on the other hand, on this zero waste project. If you think that you're more empowered, or you rethink some of your practices after these trainings.
Perhaps they didn't have enough time or opportunities to implement, to apply some of these suggestions.
That's true, because we followed actually a very dense tutoring program. It was quite dense. I don't know, maybe we can follow up with 2 more questions. Let's see. Let's see now, a question about mentoring, the one-to-one meetings and mentoring discussions that we had. You see now the question on your screen. Which one of the following you consider that you were benefited more during the mentoring sessions? To rethink of your current status of your project, to explore available options and routes as replies to the challenges, to get some creative input from the peers and the experts, to be remotivated, as some of you declared in your project, or any other. You can let us know orally or in the chat. Again, you can choose more than one option. Okay. Okay, let's see. So we see now the replies so far. It seems that the ones who declared that they were remotivated about their project are not here with us today, but it's okay. Okay, any other reflections on this question that you might have regarding mentoring?
I think that these answers are somehow interlinked. They are not separate, totally separate. Many of these answers somehow are complementary. So the idea is that the mentoring is useful in helping, rethinking, and inspiring, and helping, and in this way. It's not necessarily an independent answer.
Yes, indeed. And our last question, it is about your next steps. You may see now the question on your screen. What are the next steps regarding your initiative, project, campaign? What they might include, for instance, they might include more than one options again. Scaling up, further engagement of the community, more advocacy work, more efforts on communication, training and professional development of your staff. Okay, let's share the results now. So we have interesting ideas on next steps. Is anybody who would like to comment or reflect? Yes, please.
Well, thank you. I think regarding the three questions, first of all, at least we at in Bethlehem see this as a process, not as a project or initiative, which is limited to the very short period we were engaged with you. But on the other hand, I believe that it was very, very inspiring for us to be part of this. The mentoring was really maybe the best part of what we have been doing. So therefore, I answered all the questions. The last question I put fill in all the boxes, because we see that as process and we need to scale up. We need to do more training. We need to engage more with our audience. And as we said, it is a small step. We cannot see it as only, you know, an exercise for a short period of time. We have to build on that. We have to use we have to put ourselves in this regional framework, and also to be part of this network with similar experiences from other Mediterranean countries. That was also very inspiring to see how others deal with the same challenges and the same problems. Maybe the prevailing conditions in each country is different, but we all face the same challenges in a way or another. So I think in all, it was very useful, very engaging, very inspiring. Today, especially also to remind us also to look back into these strategies and action plans is useful, especially if we will be seeking funds for future projects. I think that would be useful to align also our objectives with the action plan, so that we will be also, will have more impact at the regional and national level. So maybe we will not be able to show concrete results, which sometimes is frustrating, but looking at on the positive side, we want to see that as an ongoing process where we feel that we can build on and improve and build the capacity, identify the ambassadors we were talking about, and try to get so many from the community on board, so that we will have more impact in the coming months.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for what you said. And what my colleagues and me expect from this kind of tutoring is to further mobilize you. Actually, this is not a closing session. It is a closing session of this activity, but is actually an invitation for you to get deeper and closer to this group, as you said, and this is an ongoing, actually, process of all of us, because education for sustainable development is the safest and most needed tool for reaching sustainability in the region. It is, and some of you, like Salama, work for many, many years with us. And we hope that all of you will keep this feeling that you are part of the group, part of a core group working in the region, because we believe on what we are doing. We believe that this is the most important thing that we can do, even if some of the results are hidden. It's not that they are not there, but they are hidden. They are not necessarily developed to the level that we envision, but it is there. They are there. Yes, Salama, take the floor.
Yes, I'd like to just say that our case during the project was, we have this green demonstration room, which is an environmental education facility that was a bit dormant during the past years. So we were working together with Iro and Vicky about how to improve it, how to add to it some elements and so on. But actually, it is at the premises of there is a body which is related to the Ministry of Education. It is the Center for Development and Research, which is in charge of preparing all the curricula of all the stages in education. Now, what we knew recently is that they managed to get some funds, the CRDP, they managed to get some funds from UNESCO. They got it directly, and they are going to work on rehabilitating it, on renovating and adding some devices and so on. And we are now in the process of signing a new memorandum of understanding with them, with this center, which would include mainly cooperation for greening education. And it would include us working more and more maybe to create other similar rooms, between brackets, similar, such locations in other regions of the country, because now it's just one. They have to come from different areas, the students. So I just wanted to tell you, this is the sort of
very good news is this. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. And we wish you success throughout. I saw another request. No?
Maybe we can share some reflections as mentors who accompanied you in this process since 10 months now, starting from the survey and then with all the meetings that we had. This was insightful for us as well, the mentoring process. This was surprisingly insightful for us. Just talking to you and listening to you and your problems, which are kind of common, as Khalud said, even in different contexts. But yeah, we face the same challenges, and many of our challenges are beyond the usual finance problems. And just talking about it and sharing our thoughts, a resource, a contact person, some ideas is really helpful also for us, and it makes us also feel as part of this Mediterranean community that works on ESD. And as you said, some results may be not immediate, but they will throwing seeds that at some point we hope that they will blossom through some
Someday.
projects. So we feel thankful for this.
We'll continue our work. Hopefully, also, I may give you this information. The West program is going to be continued for another 3-4 years. And within this extension, we'll have an important part of outreach, reaching out to the society with without leaving, of course, the other areas we have on environment, supporting the countries on environmental issues and water issues, but with more emphasis on climate change and biodiversity by addressing the biodiversity loss and using campaigns and other things that are very close to non-formal and informal education. Hopefully we'll continue also our work with education for sustainable development. So this is what we plan, what we have already the agreement with the European Union to continue. And I think this shows that we have what I said before. We have to keep together this feeling of group, this feeling of a community of educators, formal, non-formal, informal, disseminating all what we have done, plus new priority issues, and also what it was asked before, sharing also new tools that can be used, tested and used throughout the region.
So, since we are coming to our closing, I will kindly ask Danai to share with us the official questionnaire for the evaluation of the WES activity. However, Danai, I think that we may also send it by email because a lot of people couldn't make it today with us, and this is an overall evaluation. So yes, we are going to send it as well by an email.
Yes, sure.
Thank you, Danai.
And also, if you can write it in the chat for the people that are here now, maybe it's easier for them. It's there. Okay.
Yes,
Thank
it's
you,
in the chat.
Olga.
And also they
Yes.
can scan the QR code.
Yes. So please devote a few minutes because this is important and necessary for us to collect as
It's
a more
necessary
formal.
also to continue this activity among the many others.
Yes.
Exactly. So, Professor Skoulos, any last words for closing, wrapping up?
Yes, thank you. Thank you to all. Thank you also to Hiro and you, Vicky, and to all of you. We consider you part of the inner community, the core of the community of the MEDIS. And we hope that you can actually be multipliers, that you can bring more of your colleagues within this group. We are talking about great need to have devoted, committed, knowledgeable educators in disseminating the right messages. We don't have time. If we lose this generation, if we lose the generation of teachers first, of us, it will be a great loss. we don't have, it is not a luxury. We don't have the luxury. Yesterday, I was interviewed by a journalist saying how much time we have. I said, we don't have time, but we have the tools. You have to be aware that we have the technical tools and we have the money that is there. The money we are talking about are trillions, but all what we need in order to fulfill all the SDGs, it is approximately 5% of the global profits, not the market, the profit of the profit of the market, the profits of the particularly of big enterprises and big banks and all the rest. So we are talking about something that is doable from the moment we decide to do that. So we have to make sure that everybody is asking for that and has the optimism that we can actually motivate, we can actually at the end of the day obtain that. But we have to get through the so-called transformation. And this transformation cannot be done without education. So this is the issue. This is the issue. And thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all, and also to our interpreters.
Thank you also, yes, for interpretation.
Thank you, Marta, also, and the
Marta.
Zero people that helped us along this journey the past 10 months.
We look forward for continuous cooperation within this project.
We will.
Until next
Thank you.
time, so.
Till next time.
Thank
See you.
you. Have a
Bye.
good day.
Bye.
Bye.